Welcome to Trashmagination, a podcast about reimagining trash. I'm Carla Brown. Today, I'm talking about crafts that I made from plastic caps. So as you know, there is a huge challenge with plastic in our oceans. People who do beach cleanups certainly find that plastic caps are very commonly found on the beach and in the ocean water. The thing is, I think part of the reason people get confused when it comes to recycling plastic caps is that it's unclear whether to just put them in the recycling bin loose or to keep them attached to the bottles that they came with. The challenge is that often the plastic used in the caps is not the same as the plastic that the bottle is made from. And so if your municipality has specific rules about recycling only type 1 plastic, for example, do they recycle the caps? Often they do not make it clear in the information that they send out. And then the other thing that's confusing is that caps don't have that little triangle symbol on them to tell you what type of plastic that they are made from. And so if you have loose caps, you don't know whether they fall into the categories that your municipality would take. So I started making things from plastic caps when I found out that my municipality had a very restrictive plastic recycling program. They only took type 1 plastic bottles, and they make the specification plastic bottles with a neck. And they don't explain whether they take the caps, but I would assume they don't because, as I said, it's not even the same type of plastic. I know, having visited recycling facilities, that if you put a bunch of stuff in your bin that is not to the specifications of the municipality, then that stuff is called contamination. And if what they collect has too much contamination, then really it's considered to be trash and it goes to landfill. And so my fear always with putting things in there that are not following the rules is that I might be jeopardizing the whole program. Often I don't put my caps in the recycling bin and I try to think of creative things to do with them. About a decade ago, I started collecting plastic caps from my work colleague because I heard about a program that was offered by the beauty products company Aveda. They had a program where they would take the caps and do creative recycling with them. That program does not exist anymore, although if you're an Aveda fan, they do take back their own packaging, which is great. Today, if you don't feel like making something out of caps yourself, you can take your plastic caps to Whole Foods. They have a program called the Gimme 5 program, and they do this in partnership with a company called Preserve. Preserve makes things they make things from recycled plastic like toothbrushes, razors, and other housewares. They've had this program going for a very long time. I have been bringing my type 5 plastic to Whole Foods for at least 10 years. That's the type of plastic that you would find in yogurt or sour cream containers. So it's a very common type of plastic. So what Whole Foods and Preserve does is they take all the donations and they grind them up into pellets, and then Preserve makes their stuff from those pellets. And I'm a huge fan of Preserve products. So if you want to close the loop on your plastic recycling, be sure to purchase their stuff. If you want to actually make something fun from your plastic caps, I have a whole bunch of projects to tell you about. So what I do is I clean my plastic caps in the sink, and then I put them to dry on dish towels, and then I sort them by color into shoe boxes. Now, you might think that all plastic caps are the same type of plastic, but if you start making crafts from them, you're going to know really quickly that they are not. In particular, a lot of my crafts involve drilling a hole in the plastic cap so that I can attach two caps together. And I can tell you that drilling a hole in a cap from a milk jug is a completely different experience than drilling a hole in one from a soda bottle. Some caps are so soft you can even just bend them with your hands, and then others are so hard that the drill bit takes forever to make a hole in them. If you're interested in the diversity of plastic caps in the world, I recently came across an Instagram account called PET Diversity. And as of today, they have more than 300 photos of plastic caps from around the world. And you think that's kind of a pretty weird Instagram account, but I find it entertaining because there are caps in there that have all different languages, all different colors, all different designs. And I must say, my plastic cap collection has caps that are not even in that collection. So pretty cool. Something that's kind of funny when you get in the business of collecting a certain type of trash material to use for creative reuse projects. Over time, you will start noticing that some things are common and some things are very rare. I think this is kind of like stamp collecting. I actually have certain caps that I put extra value on those caps because I know they are more rare. Most of the caps I have are black, white, gray, red, blue, green. So I get really excited when I get a cap that is pink, peach, purple, or things that have a shape to them. Like I have some of these orange ones that have an imprint of orange slices on them. But I love using plastic caps in creative reuse projects because they're super colorful. People, when they see them in the crafts, they recognize them. They're not some weird shape of trash that they're like, what is that? They totally know what a cap is. A few years ago, I was washing a bunch of caps for an event, and it reminded me of like when fishermen or farmers would harvest a whole bunch of fish or a whole bunch of vegetables or whatever, and they would lay them out for market. That's how I felt when I was cleaning and drying my plastic caps. So next, let me tell you about some crafts that I invented that use plastic caps. So the first ones that I designed were all about animal themes, and I'm going to put links to all of these crafts in the show notes. The first one was something I called caterpillars, and I've discussed that in a previous podcast. This is designed for small children to work on their fine motor skills, and it involves just drilling a hole in the top of the cap, and then you give the kids a piece of twine or thread or whatever, and they put it through, and they're kind of like sewing the caps to make a caterpillar or a caterpillar. You think, well, that's pretty basic. It is, but the kids also enjoy making patterns with the colors, and some caps are bigger than others, so giving the caterpillar a shape is kind of fun too. I also helped design a bunny craft and a frog craft, and my husband designed a sock monkey craft using these caps. And sometimes I would incorporate other things, like for the bunny craft, I took shampoo bottles, which is a type 2 plastic, also difficult to recycle in my municipality, and cut out really nice big bunny ears out of them. I take a lot of pride in the fact that my plastic cap crafts do not rely on glue, because glue very quickly dries out and doesn't really adhere to the plastic cap very well. So I want my crafts to be stronger than that. And I have found the best way to do that is to create something like a spine with thread, or not with thread, but like a thicker piece of cord. And I find the cords from shopping bags are the best because they're just the right length usually, and I get them out of people's recycling. They really shouldn't be putting cord in the recycling bin either, right? I designed a giant squid using red plastic caps, and I made that as a birthday gift for my nephew because he was super into squids at the time. So the next idea I designed was all around making posable people using plastic caps. And in this case, I was still drilling the caps, but the way that I would attach the parts of the people together was usually with a pipe cleaner, because then they were kind of bendable and posable. And I actually made a video of how to do this, which I will link to in the show notes. So the first ones I made were hockey players for my daughter's birthday party. And then later I made drummers for my taiko group that we did at our Japanese festival. So the next project I played with was making a sphere or globe from plastic caps. So I decided that I would make a Halloween costume where I would be Atlas, who is that Greek titan who held up the earth. And this took a lot of time because at the time I didn't even have a drill press. I had only a hand drill still. I would attach the caps together with twist ties so that they were sort of bendy, but also that it would hold together really well. Some caps, I had to drill them like 10 times in order to make the caps fit together in this nice mosaic that looked like the ocean and the land and the ice. Unfortunately, the way I did it, the concept of the sphere, like a taut, perfectly round ball, that did not really work. My globe was kind of lumpy. I think there was a couple of reasons why that was true. One is that the caps were all variable sizes, so it was very hard to get kind of that perfect mathematical sphere shape. And also the twist ties, even though I would tighten them really well when I put them in, of course they would loosen over time. I think if I were to ever do this project again, I might try those plastic cable ties because I think they wouldn't loosen up over time. I also think it would work better if I could just get kind of more consistent cap sizes. But interestingly, the light blue of the ocean and the brown that I used for the earth, these are not that easy to find in plastic caps. And so I kind of had to use what I had. And here's another kind of fun fact about that project. So I made the Arctic ice cap out of Coca-Cola white plastic caps that had polar bears on them. So that was kind of fun. The next plastic cap project that I worked on was I made trophies out of yellow plastic caps. And I talked about that in a previous podcast, and I'll link to that project as well. So the main thing was, over time, it really wore on me to constantly be drilling these caps with my hand drill. It's just hard on the shoulder. And after doing these kinds of projects for many years, I finally invested in a drill press, which was totally worth it. It cost less than $100. And my husband figured out this really cool system where he drilled holes in pieces of 2x4 that I would clamp to the drill press. And the holes would be just the right size that I could kind of drop the cap into the hole, pull down the drill press, and make the hole. And this was great because it meant my fingers were nowhere near the drill press, and that was keeping my hands nice and safe. One other project that I've made that has always been super popular is to take laundry caps and to drill just 2 holes in the sides near the top. This is a great activity, again, for younger kids to work on their fine motor skills again. The kids take a pipe cleaner and they just put on little beads on the pipe cleaner and then attach them to the holes, and it makes this super cute little basket. And toddlers love this activity. They keep the basket forever. There are actually tons and tons and tons of crafts made from plastic caps. And over the years, I have collected more than 100 pins on Pinterest about this type of crafts. And people make trash in fashion. They make whole dresses out of plastic caps. They make mosaics, mandalas, robots, roses, children's games. It's amazing how many crafts you can make from plastic caps. And one of the experts in working with groups of children making projects from plastic caps is an artist named Michelle Stitzline. I have followed her for years on social media. She is amazing. She's written 2 books filled with projects made from plastic caps. So if you're a teacher who wants to try using plastic caps in your classroom, she's got it all figured out, all the systems that you would need to have in place for that. Another artist who uses plastic caps who is super impressive is Mary Ellen Croteau. She makes huge portraits from plastic caps. So the first one I saw was called Close. And on her website, she says, I noticed the smaller caps tended to nest inside one another, and the color combinations reminded me of Chuck Close's painted portraits. If you're familiar with Chuck Close, he does sort of photorealistic portraits, humongous ones. And so she's made a few portraits modeled on his method. And her self-portrait contained more than 7,000 plastic caps. And then the last artist I wanted to mention who works with little plastic bits, not just plastic caps, but anything small, plastic, and colorful, is an artist named Lisa Solomon. And she has done an exhibit a number of times called Chroma, where she makes a rainbow of plastic objects on a wall. And I'm so excited because she has just announced that she will be doing an installation of Chroma in Washington, D.C., later this year in 2017. I live near Washington, D.C., so I am super thrilled that I finally get to see this exhibit. And right now she is accepting mailed packages of rainbow-colored plastic items. So if you want to participate, I'll put a link to her Tumblr where she actually puts little pictures of the things that people are contributing to her next installation. So until next time, may you see your trash as just another source of art in your life.